Oscar Robertson, he was the speaker. And the speech was going well. We was engaged. We was in tune. And then he flipped the switch on us, bro. He just started hating us out the blue. Said something about Shaq. Shaq couldn't hold Wilt Chamberlain back. So that's the first time you heard the room rumble.
Well, I'm going to say Jordan. Let's see, Elgin Baylor, the kid out of Golden State now, Curry. Jerry West.
A lot of buckets. Jerry West, logo.
And Will, both he and Bill Russell. I forgot something a moment ago, which I just thought of while I'm mentioning great basketball players. The one and only, LeBron.
Oscar Robertson named 10 NBA players he absolutely hated, and the list is more shocking than you think. This is a Hall of Famer who went into locker rooms and tore down the idols of an entire generation. He called champions soft. He dismissed MVPs as system players. He told professional athletes that their heroes could not carry the bags of players they had never even seen. So let's break down exactly who Oscar Robertson targeted, why he did it, and whether any of this criticism actually makes sense. The story that made Oscar Robertson the face of generational hate started in a private team meeting. During the 2014 to 2015 season, the Toronto Raptors invited Robertson to speak to the team, bringing a legend to inspire the players. But according to Lou Williams, the session turned into something completely different. Williams said the room was engaged at first. Players were tuned in and respectful, but then Robertson flipped a switch. He started calling the players spoiled and entitled, and then he went after their idols. Williams said the moment that really set the room off was when Robertson said Shaquille O'Neal could not hold Wilt Chamberlain's bag. Think about that for a second. Shaq is one of the most dominant centers in NBA history. 3 finals MVPs, 4 championships, and Robertson said he was not even good enough to be Wilt's assistant. The room rumbled. Players were shocked. For anyone born in the 80s or 90s, Shaq represents the peak of physical dominance. To hear him dismissed like that felt like an insult to reality itself. But Robertson was not done. He then said Chris Paul could not be in the same gym as Bob Cousy. That was the moment the players lost it. Chris Paul is known as the point god. He is a master of efficiency and control. Bob Cousy, on the other hand, is often mocked by younger fans for his dribbling style. Old footage shows him using only his right hand and keeping his head down. To modern eyes, it looks outdated. So when Robertson said Paul could not even share a gym with Cousy, it sounded like pure senility. But from Robertson's perspective, this was about protecting history. Cousy played in an era with no three-point line, narrower lanes, and strict rules against palming the ball. Robertson believes Paul's success comes from rules that protect ball handlers. Cousy had no such protection. To Robertson, Paul benefited from the system. Cousy created the position, but here is the problem. Dismissing modern greatness to defend the past does not honor history. It erases the present. And that is exactly what players like Lou Williams heard. They did not hear respect for legends. They heard disrespect for themselves. Before we go further, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment, letting me know if you think Oscar Robertson's criticism is fair, or if he is just bitter about the money he never made. I want to hear your take on this. The Raptors incident was private, but Oscar Robertson's criticism of Stephen Curry was national news. During the 2015 to 2016 season, Curry was on his way to becoming the first ever unanimous MVP. He was breaking the game with his shooting range. He was hitting threes from 30 feet out. Defenses had no answer, but Robertson did not see greatness. He saw defensive failure. On ESPN's Mike and Mike show, Robertson said coaches today do not understand the game of basketball. He said they do not know anything about defenses. His solution? Pick Curry up full court, press him at 94 feet, make him work before he even crosses half court. Robertson said that in his era, if a shooter hit a shot from outside, defenders would immediately pressure him the next time down the floor. He made it sound simple. Just extend the defense and shut Curry down. But there was one massive problem with this take. The rules of the game had changed. In Robertson's era, defenders were allowed to use their hands to impede the ball handler. You could body someone up and physically slow them down. By 2016, the NBA had strict freedom of movement rules. A defender trying to pressure Curry at 35 feet, the way Robertson suggested, would either get called for a foul or get blown by. Because hand checking was illegal, Warriors coach Steve Kerr responded with sarcasm. He joked that he would have shut Curry down, mocking the idea that older players had some secret defensive knowledge that had been lost. And honestly, Kerr had a point. Curry's range breaks traditional defensive geometry. If you pick him up at 35 feet, you open up the lane for back cuts and easy baskets. Robertson's refusal to acknowledge that Curry's skill set required new defensive strategies made him look out of touch. It was not a tactical disagreement. disagreement. It was a dismissal of a unique talent. Then came the Draymond Green feud during the 2024 NBA All-Star Weekend. Green had made comments about the modern NBA being boring, but Robertson took exception, saying if Green is not passing the ball to Curry, then what is he doing? He said Green passes to Curry more than anyone he had ever seen, so maybe the game is boring to Green because he is not shooting or guarding much. This comment revealed something important about Robertson's basketball philosophy. He values the total player. Robertson himself averaged a 30-point triple-double. He was the primary scorer, playmaker, and rebounder for his teams. He struggles to respect what he sees as role players. To him, a max contract player like Green, whose value comes from defense, screening, and secondary playmaking rather than scoring, is incomplete. Calling Green just a passer for Curry ignores his defensive genius and his ability to run an offense. But to Robertson, if you cannot score, you are not a complete player. The problem is, basketball has evolved. The modern game values specialists. Players like Green prove that you do not need to score 20 points a game to be valuable, but Robertson cannot accept that. To him, it represents a lowering of standards. Now let's talk about the legacy gatekeeping. Robertson did not just criticize modern players for how they play. He criticized them for even being compared to the legends of his era. The Shaq versus Wilt Chamberlain comparison is a perfect example. Robertson played with Chamberlain. He saw the 50-point average season. He saw the athletic feats that were not captured on television the way modern games are. So when people called Shaq the most dominant center ever, Robertson pushed back hard. He said Shaq could not hold Wilt's bag. From Robertson's view, Chamberlain's statistical dominance, like averaging 48.5 minutes per game, proved he was on another level. But here's the issue. Comparing eras is nearly impossible. The game was different. The competition was different. The rules were different. Shaq played in an era with zone defenses and more sophisticated schemes. Wilt played in a faster-paced game with fewer teams. Both were dominant in their own contexts. But Robertson refuses to grant that. He needs Wilt to be better because it validates his own era. The same logic applies to his Chris Paul versus Bob Cousy take. Cousy is a founding father of the point guard position, but Paul's handles, vision, and efficiency are objectively superior by any measurable standard. Saying Paul could not be in the same gym as Cousy is not protecting history. It is rewriting it. Robertson's treatment of LeBron James and Michael Jordan is where things get really confusing. When it comes to the greatest of all time debate, Robertson refuses to crown either player. In the early 2010s, when Charles Barkley was saying Michael Jordan was the undisputed GOAT and that LeBron could never surpass him, Robertson came to LeBron's defense. He said LeBron was in a class by himself. He rejected the idea that Jordan was untouchable. But by 2021, Robertson's tone had shifted. On the Knuckleheads podcast, he was asked to name his top 5 players of all time. He listed Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Steph Curry, and Jerry West. He left LeBron off the list entirely, only mentioning him as an afterthought. He said, "And I forgot the great and only LeBron James." That moment said everything. LeBron had done nothing to lose Robertson's respect. If anything, he had only added to his legacy. So what changed? The most likely explanation is that Robertson resents the super team era. LeBron's decision to join Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami, and later to team up with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love in Cleveland, represents something Robertson hates. In his era, stars stayed with their teams and fought their rivals. They did not join them. Robertson sees the super team model as a betrayal of competitive spirit. And even though LeBron's agency over his career is something Robertson himself fought for through his free agency lawsuit, he cannot reconcile the way that freedom has been used. As for Jordan, Robertson has consistently pushed back against the narrative that Jordan is the greatest ever. He points out that the 90s were an expansion era. The league had nearly 30 teams, which diluted the talent pool. Robertson played in a 9-14 team league where every game was against a Hall of Famer. He believes Jordan's dominance was partly a product of marketing and weaker competition. Whether that is fair or not, it shows that Robertson is not interested in crowning anyone from an era he did not play in. Robertson's stylistic complaints about the modern game go beyond individual players. He hates how the game is played. James Harden is a perfect example. Harden represents everything Robertson despises: isolation basketball, excessive dribbling, hunting fouls, fouls, step-back threes. Robertson has said the game has devolved from a five-man symphony into one-on-one or two-on-two basketball. He blames players like Harden for turning the game into a dribbling contest. Even though Harden passed Robertson on the all-time scoring and assist lists, Robertson does not respect how those numbers were accumulated. To him, the manner matters more than the result. Harden's reliance on the step-back three and drawing fouls feels cheap compared to the efficient post-ups and mid-range game that defined the Royals. Robertson has also said he does not think players today have the ability to think on the court. He believes basketball IQ has declined, and while there is some truth to the idea that isolation-heavy offenses reduce ball movement, dismissing an all-time great like Harden because of stylistic preference is short-sighted. Harden's efficiency and scoring ability are undeniable, but Robertson cannot separate the art from the artist. Then there is the Kevin Durant versus Carmelo Anthony debate. Robertson inserted himself into this conversation by saying, Carmelo Anthony is a better scorer than Kevin Durant. He said they cannot outshoot Carmelo. This take is statistically indefensible. Durant is one of the most efficient scorers in NBA history. Anthony is a volume scorer who was never known for efficiency, but Robertson's bias is clear. Anthony's game, bullying defenders in the post and using the mid-range, resembles Robertson's own style. Durant's slender frame and perimeter reliance probably look soft to Robertson, so he overvalues Anthony's physical style because it mirrors his own era. This is not really about hating Durant. It is about loving the archetype Anthony represents, a dying breed of physical wing play. And then there is Dennis Rodman. Robertson used Rodman as proof that the league's skill level had declined. He pointed out that even on the Chicago Bulls, Rodman would not shoot. Robertson believes a professional basketball player must be a threat to score. The idea that a player like Rodman, who would pass up open layups to hunt for rebounds, could win championships is baffling to him. In the 60s, a player who provided zero offensive spacing would have been unplayable. But Rodman thrived because the Bulls had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Robertson sees that as proof the competition was weak. If opponents could not exploit a 4-on-5 offense, then the league was not as good as people think. But here's the thing. Robertson does not hate everyone. He praises players who remind him of himself. When Russell Westbrook broke Robertson's single-season triple-double record in 2017, the media expected bitterness. Instead, Robertson was thrilled. He called Westbrook a great athlete and said he was outstanding. He congratulated him and said it was wonderful. Why? Because Westbrook plays like Robertson. Furious pace, physical drives, rebounding tenacity, complete box score dominance. By validating Westbrook, Robertson validates himself. If Westbrook is great because of triple-doubles, then Robertson remains the original great. The same applies to Luka Doncic. Robertson has embraced Luka, who is climbing the triple-double ranks. Robertson is the only historical peer for Luka's 30-point triple-double streaks. And notably, Robertson has not criticized Luka's defense or ball dominance the way he has with Harden or Curry. As long as a player fits the big guard's triple-double archetype, they are safe from Robertson's wrath. So why is Oscar Robertson so angry? The answer is not just about basketball. It is about money. In 1970, Robertson filed the class action antitrust lawsuit that became known as Robertson versus National Basketball Association. This lawsuit blocked the merger of the NBA and ABA until the league addressed the reserve clause, which bound players to teams indefinitely. The result was the creation of free agency in 1976. But Robertson retired in 1974. He fought the battle, he took the public heat, he delayed the merger, but he never played a single day under the free agency rules he created. He never signed a max contract. He never made generational wealth. When Lou Williams said he thinks the money hurts Robertson and that he never enjoyed the fruits of his labor, he was right. Robertson sees mediocrity rewarded with massive contracts. Bench players make $15 million a year. Role players like Draymond Green earn $100 million while averaging single digits in scoring. Meanwhile, Robertson and his peers, who were objectively better, had to work summer jobs. That economic disparity fuels the bitterness. When Robertson criticizes modern players, he is not just talking about basketball. He is litigating his own sacrifice. He is the martyr who built the system but never benefited from it. And every time he sees a player complain about the grind or call the game boring while making generational wealth, it reminds him of what he lost. So here is the truth. Oscar Robertson does not have a physical hate list, but he has targeted at least 10 modern players with biting criticism: Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Chris Paul, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, James Harden, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, Dennis Rodman. Some of that criticism is rooted in legitimate basketball philosophy. Some of it is legacy protection, and some of it is pure economic resentment. argument, but calling it hate oversimplifies the situation. Robertson is not just an angry old man yelling at clouds. He is a guardian of the gate. He is trying to make sure the pioneers of his era are not erased by a generation that refuses to watch black and white footage. He is defending the idea that real defense died when hand-checking was banned. He is protecting the total player ideal against the rise of specialists, and he is expressing rage that the blueprint he created has been monetized by players who do not understand the struggle that built the league. Does that make his criticism fair? Not always, but it makes it understandable. Generational debates will always exist in sports. The key is recognizing when criticism comes from a place of protecting history versus when it comes from refusing to accept evolution. Oscar Robertson walks that line, and whether you agree with him or not, his voice represents a generation that sacrificed everything so the modern player could thrive. That deserves acknowledgement, even if his takes sometimes miss the mark. Let me know in the comments where you stand on this debate, and I will see you in the next one.